Hello, everyone. I'm Jessica, and I see that some of you are already online. Thanks for getting online on time. I'm going to wait like a minute or so just to get more people to join. And I see that some of you are already active in the chat, and I think it's great. Use the chat to interact with each other. And please, if you have any questions, please ask me. I'd love to answer all of your questions. And if you could tag my name, Jessica, in your questions, that'd be great. It would help me find them much easier. And as you know, Sabrina from Culture Care in Austria is also online to help answering questions. I think that we can start. So my name is Jessica, and I am from Sweden. I am currently in LA, and I work as an ambassador for Culture Care. That is how I got the opportunity to do this broadcast. I'm very excited to connect with all of you. And I think it's great to put experienced au pairs with new au pairs. I hope with this live video to make you more prepared for your au pair experience. The fact is that the more prepared you are, the better. And your expectations about the au pair job should be somewhat close to the reality, just to make your year a lot easier. I have been an au pair for almost 2 years. I was in New York my first year, and as I said, I'm right now in Los Angeles. This is the opportunity for you to ask questions. So if you have any questions, please ask. Before I start answering them, I would like to talk about two things. The first thing is the beginning of the au pair year, because I think that there is where a lot of challenges lie. And I'd love to share some tips and memories from my first time as an au pair. So after that, my second thing is I would like to share with you a hard thing about being an au pair. But let's start with the beginning. And please tag my name if you have any questions. It's going to help me find them easier. So when I went as an au pair, I had a lot of expectations, and I wanted everything to be great at once. But the thing is that sometimes great things don't come easily. And my best advice for you is to give it time. It might sound frustrating, but as an au pair, everything is new in the beginning. It takes time to build a relationship with your host family. It takes time to get to know the area, to get comfortable in the house, to make friends. And I would like to talk about the last thing, making friends, because I thought that I would make a lot of friends on the plane, at the au pair training school, in my au pair group, but I didn't. So I was very lonely and bored in the beginning. I tried so hard to make friends. I made a lot of connections, but not really great friends. One of my first best friends that I made in New York, I met her through Facebook. So I think a great way to meet friends is through the Facebook groups. There's so many of them. You can join Facebook groups that's in your state, au pairs in the US. It's also a great tip for you to get a lot of advice from au pairs. And I also want to talk to you about my first days as an au pair. I think the first day is so special, and there's so many emotions and everything is so new. And I want to share my memories from the first days, just to hopefully help you out a little better on your first day. So I'm in New York, and my youngest host kid, he comes home from camp, and his former au pair, she's still there, and she's great, and he loves her so much. So she tells him, "Look who's here." And he looks right at me, and he goes, "Oh, it's you." And then he walks out and slams the door behind him. I think slams the door might be exaggerating a little. he has better memory than I have, so he would probably not say that he slammed the door. And he would probably be right. The thing is that he loved his au pair and I was her replacement. Don't want to scare you in case your host family has an au pair. If your host family already has an au pair, so many positive things about that. Promise you, so many positive things. And I mean, I have 1,000 memories with my youngest host kid in New York. And at the end of the year, he was sad to see me leave as well. I think it's important for you to know that it's always different with kids, and some kids might need time to adapt to you, and I think that's completely normal. On the other hand, when I got to my first day in LA, everything was much easier. And I think it's because I'd been an au pair for a year. I knew more what I was walking into. And I remember that my host kids were really excited to see me. And they were so happy. They talked a lot. They were so entertaining. And just everything was positive with my first day here. And not saying that none of them better. I love my first day in New York. It was very chaotic, but good chaos. You know, that's why I was there, to help the family out. And if you have any questions more specifically about the first day, something you're wondering about, please go ahead and ask questions. And remember to tag my name, that'd be great. I want to move on to topic number 2, which is a hard thing about being an au pair. And I want to ask you, before I start talking, what do you think is going to be the hardest for you about being an au pair? You probably see that a lot of other people share the same thoughts as you, and I think it's always comforting to know that you have others that are thinking exactly the same thing. So please share your thoughts and questions, and we can talk about it. There was one reason to why I hesitated about going as an au pair. I did not think that I wanted to live with a host family. I didn't think that I could live with a host family, mainly because I lived abroad before. And I think that the fact that I knew that it probably would be hard for me made it easier. Back to why I think this live video is great. The more prepared you are, the better you'll be able to handle things. First of all, I've done it for 2 years. I've lived and worked for 2 host families, and it's been going great because my 2 host families have been amazing at respecting my privacy. It is very hard to find a balance when it comes to the au pair job. It's why it's so special. You're living and working at the same place. And it is very important that you find a balance between being an employee and a family member. The key to find the balance is pretty much the key to everything when it comes to the au pair job, and that is communication. It is the most important thing for you to remember, communication. If you can communicate with your host family, you can work everything out, I'm sure. I think it's hard to live where you're working because it's hard to feel like you're completely off. Do you get the feeling that if I'm in the house, not really off work, or maybe I'm off work, but I would still help out because I want to be a family member, you know, and I want to help out. So one advice is to leave the house when you're off. And I mean, it's not a bad thing, because take your free time as the opportunity to meet new people, make friends. If you don't have any plans, go for walks. It's always nice to get some air. Join the gym, also an example of meeting friends. I met some of my friends at the gym. I do want to finish by telling you what the hardest thing about being an au pair is. I think that the hardest thing about being an au pair is leaving. It is so hard to leave. And since my time is almost over, I get a question a lot. And that question is, how does it feel to be going home? but I feel like I'm leaving home. And I know that you're all about to go to the States, and I know how hard it is to leave. But from my 2 years in the States, I've learned that home isn't a place for me. It's the people around you who makes it the home. So I hope that you will like hearing that, and just want to congratulate all of you for making the decision to go as an au pair. I've had 2 amazing years, and the au pair job can be tough sometimes. It is important to remember that it is a job. Your job is to take care of kids up to 45 hours a week. You should always put your host kids first and your host family first. I really hope to be a family member, so I worked really hard for that. And I'm so happy that I found 2 amazing families here in the States. And I'm about to start answering your questions. And really, if you can think of anything, please continue to answer questions. And I have so much to share. I could talk forever, but I'm very excited to see all of your questions. Michalina is asking me if I'm from Austria. I am from Sweden, and Sabrina is from Austria. Luisa is wondering how were the first. My first what? Please ask your question again. Sarita is wondering what study options are available and affordable for au pairs, which is a great question. As y'all probably know, you have to take 6 credits here in the States, and there is so many options to choose between. Cheap ones, expensive ones, you can find whatever you want. And I can share from my own experience what I chose to study. In New York, I did a weekend course, and I can really recommend that. A lot of au pairs chose to do weekend courses, especially if you like traveling. I took a weekend course to Montreal in Canada, which is such a pretty town, so I advise everyone to go there if you can. And the weekend course, I think it was 3 Saturdays, classes in New York City. I got to meet other au pairs as well. And at the end of the classes, we went to Montreal for a weekend. It wasn't expensive at all. And a lot of things were included, such as the bus there and back, hotel, some food, I think, as well. So definitely worth it. I can try to put the link in the chat. If any of you are going to New York and want to look up what school I went to. I also went to Long Island University because I lived on Long Island. I took a course in social media and marketing, which is really popular. And the teacher that I had, he was so good. I wish that I remembered his name because he was really, really good. And that class, I'm really happy I took that class. In LA, I took another class in marketing because I wanted to add it to my resume. And then I did a course in French at Santa Monica College. Both options were really cheap. I didn't want to spend a lot of money on studying here. At the same time, there's not really anything I regret, except maybe I would have wanted to take a class at a college here, just to meet Americans and maybe experience more of the college life. So interested in that. I encourage you to look it up at least. Tia is wondering how it is to make friends and make a life in a new place. As I mentioned, it was hard for me in New York, but it was because I wanted to make it right away. I wanted it to be, wanted to feel like home right away, and I wanted to have great friends right away. And I had to give it a couple of weeks. And don't worry about it. You will meet so many au pairs already at the training school. Try to be open and social. try to meet it as many as possible and talk to as many as possible, and give it time. It takes time to feel comfortable with your host family, but gradually it's gonna become a home for you. So what I did in the beginning, I explored the area around my house, went for a lot of walks, and one good thing is to ask your host family what's there to do around, what do they do, and ask other au pairs in the area what they like to do on their free times. I hope I gave you some advice there. Nicolina is writing, I'm afraid of cooking. I'm not good at it. I am not good at cooking either. I'm definitely not the best cook in the world. Do not be afraid of that at all. I think that the kids will appreciate anything you make, or they will be really picky and then it's not your fault. But I know that Culture Care has a lot of tips on what to make for your kids, for lunch, for dinner, and also, again, use the au pair groups on Facebook. I think they're great. Just ask the au pairs what they make for lunch and dinners. And my host kids have been pretty easy, you know, they like pasta, they like easy things. So don't worry about cooking at all, and see it as an opportunity to get better in cooking as well. I know a lot of friends who are better at cooking now. Antonia is wondering about how to make friends as well. I hope I didn't scare you. I've made so many friends around all over the world, but it took some time in New York. On the other hand, it went so fast in LA. I met some of my best friends the first day, I think. So sometimes you connect with someone right away, and sometimes it takes time to build a relationship. But feel free to use this chat as well to let everyone know where you're going, and maybe some of you are going to the same state as well. Polasifal is wondering a little about driving in the US. I think it's a great question. I do think that where I come from, Sweden, is a really safe country to drive, and studying for the driving test is really hard, which makes the drivers excellent drivers. I have not seen many accidents in Sweden at all. But driving in the US, it's not different at all. There's some different rules that you will learn about, but it's the same. And since you need a driving license to go as an au pair, I know that all of you can drive, and you do not have to be afraid of driving in the US at all. If you're nervous about driving here, ask your host family to practice with you and to take you out. I had my international license in New York, and then I took the California state license when I got here, and it was a really easy test. If you already have your license from your home country, it should not be a problem to take a state license here. Chiara is wondering how it is to be away from home. And I was expecting this question because out of all the new au pairs I talk to, there's two questions that I always get, and that is how to deal with homesickness and how to pack. Those are the top ones. And to be away from home is really hard. I mean, it is really hard, but it's worth it. I promise you that it's worth it. And I have a lot of advice how to deal with homesickness, but you will also learn yourself how you will deal with it best. And unfortunately, through the hard way. It's gonna hit you eventually. It always does. I've been away before I went as an au pair, and it does get easier by time you learn how to deal with it. I think the most important thing is to remember to think about what you experience here, and not what you're missing out on in Sweden. I mean, unfortunately, we can't be at more places at once. If we could, that would be so amazing. I got homesick on Christmas last year, I was Skyping with my family and they were all there except me. It was really obvious, you know, that they were all there except me. But once we hung up and I got some distance, I realized that I wouldn't want to be there because I was having such a wonderful Christmas here with my host family. And so happy for all the memories I have here. So when it hits you and you feel really homesick, talk about it. I think talking about it always helps. And you should know that you have a lot of support here in the States. You have support in your host family, in other au pairs. I'm always here. Culture Care is always there. So it is really normal to be afraid about homesickness, but I promise you that it's not going to be a problem at all. Michalina, did you talk to your host family about your responsibilities when we have to cook? Sabrina was asking that. That's great. I think you should all ask as many questions as you can to your host family about what your responsibilities are. In New York, I cooked for the kids 3 or 4 days a week. And in LA, my host mom and I take turns in cooking, and she usually decides what to cook, which I think is the hard part about cooking. Desiree is asking how we should pack, which is great since I mentioned that that is the top 2 most common question that I get. And it is really hard to pack. I'm about to leave the States after 2 years, and my host kid in New York said something. You know how kids are really funny and honest, and he said, "Why are you stressing so much about packing? All you have to do is pack everything and go." Except everything I had did not fit in the suitcase and did definitely way more than the limit. My best advice when it comes to packing is to start in time. And if you don't have a scale, buy one to check how much it weighs. Clothes weigh more than you'd think. And I had one big suitcase and a hand luggage and a backpack when I went to New York, and I didn't miss anything from Sweden. Honestly, I brought some clothes that I never used, so I think you should all be fine with one big suitcase, one hand luggage, and a backpack. It also depends on how much you're planning to shop here, but start packing in time and think about if you want to bring your favorite clothes, or maybe you want to buy fancy clothes in the States. If there's anything else I can recommend packing, it's an adapter maybe that fits here in the US. And there's also long adapters, so you can plug in more things at the same time. It could be a great idea to bring. I've seen a lot of other au pairs giving the advice to bring that. Besides that, I haven't missed anything in Sweden. You can buy most of the things here. You can also send things from Sweden as well, or whatever your home country is. Sarita is a bit scared of driving in the US because you drive on the left-hand side of your country. If I would go to your country, I would be so scared to drive as well. But I have friends from Australia that have been driving here and they've been great. So I think that you should try to connect with au pairs from countries that drive on the left-hand side as well. They could probably give you some great tips. And it does sound scary, but imagine how cool that you will learn how to drive on the right-hand side as well. Desiree is wondering how much money you should put aside for taxes. I think that's a great question. I think it's great that you are thinking about the taxes already. Put aside money for it definitely, so you don't have to worry about it later. The taxes works a lot different from Sweden. So when I got here in August, I got here late enough not to make enough money to pay taxes. So I did not pay any taxes my first year, but I did pay taxes in my second year. It all depends on when you arrive to the States and if you decide to extend or not. So you don't have to worry about taxes right away, but I suggest that you talk to your other au pairs in your group or get advice from Culture Care if you decide to extend, or because it really depends on when you arrive to the States. Sometimes so for me, so I have to wait for it to update. But I'm really happy that you're all asking so many great questions. Magdalena is wondering, when do I have to start learning for the driving license? Is it possible to start when I'm there? Definitely, it's possible to start when you're here. No, I don't know what state you're going to. I've only taken the California driving license, so that's the only experience that I have. But for me, it went really fast. There was an app that I could download to study for the driving license, and that was a great app. So, and there's also books that you can borrow or buy to study from. But of course, the sooner you start studying, the better, because you want to get the license as fast as you can when you arrive here. So start as soon as you can, and ask your host family for advice. And I'm sure they'll know where the place is to take the tests and everything. It's not expensive at all. I didn't find it hard. I had to study for the test. I didn't know all the rules or all the signs, but if you study for it, you don't have anything to worry about. And Kapko is wondering if I could tell something about the driving exam, with the driving exam. Since I had my international license the first year and I didn't have any state license, I had to do a written test and a driving test here in California. The written test, it's just a few questions about signs, rules, to from my home country in Sweden. And I studied, as I said, from an app, which was really good. A lot of the questions were similar to the real test. And after I passed the written test, I could book a driving test where it wasn't hard for me at all. It took maybe about 10 minutes. I was driving around the area and didn't have to do anything special. So as I said, you all know how to drive, and if you need to take a license here, don't have to worry about it all. And I do think it's really cool to have the California driving license. I'm happy that I did it. Tila is writing a very interesting comment that she prefers American friends because she wants to make a life here in the States. And the problem with the au pair friends is that you make relationships, but then people come and go. And I think that you have a really great point there. I'm really happy about the American friends that I made here and that I can always go and visit. The great thing about making au pair friends is that you're all in this together. You're all in the same situation, and it's great to have people who experience the same thing that you can get help from. And even though you decide to stay in the States, I think that you should try to make friends from all over the world, because I think it's really cool to know people all over the world. Desiree is wondering what the training school is like. So my memory is really bad, and this is almost 2 years ago now. But I've been thinking about the training school a lot because I thought that the question about it would come up. I know that the training school have changed location since I was there, so I don't know much about the details about how the school actually looks like. I think that the training school is one of the best ideas that Culture Care has, because you arrive here and you get to meet other pairs, and they try to prepare you as much as they can for your repair experience. And I think that it's easier than if you would arrive straight away to your host family. And as I said earlier, try to make the most of your time at the training school. It's really a great opportunity for you to make friends all over the States, and maybe you can go visit them. And I remember that the days were long, but it's worth it. You get a lot of great advice before you go as an au pair. And so really enjoy training school. Jessica, who has the same name as me, is wondering about New York. She's going to New York and she's a bit worried about it. Don't be worried at all. I love New York so much. So reading that you are going to New York makes me so happy. I had the best time in New York. I think that my favorite city in the whole world so far. And I don't know exactly what you're worried about, so if you want to share more details, that'd be great. But I'm sure that you don't have anything to worry about. A lot of people are worried about how big New York is. I come from a really small town in Sweden, so New York was very big to me. But the cool thing is that eventually, once I've been there a lot of times, it got smaller because I learned how to get around and I knew my favorite places. So don't worry about New York being too big. That is one of the great things about New York. I love how big it is, and there's so much to do and so much to see. So congratulations for going to New York. Jessica, thanks for being more detailed about what and where to study. I'm going to put the link up at the school that I went to in New York City, the one where I traveled to Montreal. And the best advice is to ask the au pairs in your area and see what they studied. You can probably get some tips from there. But another advice that I want to give is to take the time to either put a great course on your resume or study something that you think is fun or really interesting. I think being an au pair is a perfect time to use your free time to do whatever you love. I know a lot of au pairs have picked up old hobbies that they just didn't have time to do before, or forgot. Or it's really a great time to do whatever you like. If you love photographing or arts or crafts or languages, there's so many options for what you can study. I have another great tip to give you when it comes to being an au pair. Accept that communication is the key to everything. A woman from Culture Care, she was my LCC in New York, and she always shared this quote saying that there is sides of every story. It's my story, your story, and the real story. And I've always kept that with me because I think that it's a great quote to put things in perspective. And I hope it will help you throughout your au pair time. Vera is going to live in LA and she's wondering about LA. LA is, to me, a vacation place. It's so beautiful here. I live close to the beach, and I love the beach. There is a lot of hiking trails, and it's really pretty. I enjoy it so much. I think I'm more positive here. I'm a little scared that it's because of the weather. I think I get affected by the weather a lot, and I'm gonna miss the sun when I go back to Sweden. But the people I've met here in LA have been so kind and open and warm-hearted. So I have a great experience from LA, and especially where I live. I live in Pacific Palisades, which is in between Santa Monica and Malibu. And I'd say there's so many things to see in LA and in California as well. So you should be really happy about coming to LA. You'll have a lot of fun here, I'm sure. And TA saying that I got lucky with my location. Not that there's anything wrong with smaller unknown places, but just saying. Before I went as an au pair, I really wanted to go to California. And when I started to talk to host families, I did realize how important it is to find a great host family. And it doesn't matter what place you go to, the family is the most important. I, however, am very social, outgoing, and I love seeing things. So to me, I'm so happy that I got to live close to New York and close to LA. But I also think it's cool to go to a more unknown place, because you would probably not go there otherwise. I was lucky that my host family here brought me to Idaho for a skiing week, and which I thought was really cool. I would not have gone to Idaho otherwise, probably. Vera is moving to Pacific Palisades too. I think that this is one of the fun things about being an au pair and doing these type of things, because I get in contact with all of you, and sometimes we have so much in common. And I just want to say to Vera that I love Pacific Palisades. It's so pretty and very calm, and you are close to LA and Santa Monica, and I hope you're gonna love Palisades. I'm so sad that I have to leave soon. Tiara is wondering if I gained weight while living in America. I think that this is a topic that talks a lot about this topic as well. It is normal to gain weight in America because you probably change your lifestyle, your eating habits, your active lifestyle. I gained weight in New York, but completely normal, because I think I ate a lot more. I did eat a lot more unhealthy, and I didn't exercise much. I didn't walk a lot. I used the car a lot. I needed the car to go to a lot of places. I lost a lot of weight here in LA. I changed my lifestyle completely. And so it's more about, your lifestyle. And it is hard to keep it the same when you're moving to another country. But I encourage you all to really be aware of what you eat and how much you exercise. It's just really important to have energy for this job. And I feel a lot better now when I'm eating better. I'm just waiting for more questions. I really like seeing you all interact with each other. Sabrina is texting in the chat that if I have questions, could you please type it again? Thanks, Sabrina. If I missed answering any of your questions, please type them again. Desiree is wondering if I've been in any bad weathers, like a big storm or tornado. Yes, I would say I have, maybe not a huge one, but there was a snowstorm in New York when I was there. And I didn't take it seriously because I'm from Sweden and I've experienced a lot of snow. So when my host family was talking about this big snowstorm, I wasn't expecting it to be a real storm. But it was actually a lot of snow, and we were snowed in for like a weekend or so, and it took a while for the roads to be clear. I remember that my family and friends in Sweden saw news about the storm in New York when I was there. But no tornadoes, no big things here in LA. I'm really happy about it. I think that it's kind of scary with the weather. Before I log out, I'm gonna keep this chat open. I'm just gonna turn the video off so you won't see me anymore, but you can still use this chat, and I'll share my email address in case you wanna get in contact with me, or if you wanna follow me on social media, I can post that as well. I think that you have questions afterwards, and I just want to make sure that you know that I'm here in case you have any questions. So I'm about to turn the video off, and I just want to say thank you to all of you for watching me, and I hope I helped you out in some way. Also want to thank Culture Care for giving me this opportunity, especially Jessica and Malin, who helped me a lot for the preparations. And thanks to Sabrina, who is online to answer your questions as well. Good luck to all of you who are going as an au pair. I hope you have a wonderful time. And again, thank you so much for watching me. Bye.